Next edit tutorial in the series. So if you have a gun and you have an enemy running towards you, maybe you want to shoot him, how are we going to detect that the bullet has hit him and then make him die? And then the one after that, I'm going to show you how you can then update the score. So this tutorial is linked below the video. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up some, we're going to need to find the bullet, and we're going to need to set a tag on the bullet, and then we're going to use the script to on the enemy to pick up when the bullet has collided with that enemy's collider. So this is where you have colliders. You have colliders in games like this because you want to pick up when a collision has happened. You want to give objects physics. You want to make sure they don't fall through the floor and things like that. But in this case, it's going to be when the enemy has been hit by a bullet. So we're going to search for bullet underscore head, and it'll come up with this bullet here. That's what the bullet looks like when you shoot the gun. It gets instantiated at the end of the gun. We're going to go over to inspector and we're going to add a tag. And the tag we are going to add, I press add there, it's going to be called bullet. I'll save that. And then I'll go back to the bullet. It's a bit of a bug there, really. You should be able to set it as well when you do that. And then I'm going to set that tag on that bullet to be the bullet. So the next thing you need to do after that is we need to zoom in on our enemy and just talk about, well, he has this green thing around him, which is part of his nav mesh agent. Also, we need to add a collider to him so that he can pick up on those collisions. So if we add a component and let's add a capsule collider, and then we're going to open that up and edit that a bit. So we'll make it stretch to his full height and like end around about his feet. And then if I zoom around like that, I can see that it's not quite on his feet. We want it to just hover on the ground there like that. So now he has this collider. We need to tick is trigger, this thing here. If we don't do that, then the collider will not activate the script when an object collides with it. Right, and then we're going to add a script to our enemy. We're going to update the enemy script. So we're going to open that up. And this is what we did before. We just set the agent, nav mesh agent, and we set it to have a goal, whatever we set the goal to be, i.e. you, and we set the animator to animate to move. We're going to add a few more things in here. So at the top of our script, we're going to add a few more properties. The first one is going to be an is dead boolean, and it's going to be set to false at first because you won't be dead. Yeah, that's it. That's the only parameter we're going to add. Then we need to check in the update function. That's the at the destination. We need to check if our character is dead. So if is dead equals true. If is dead while he is not dead, basically, we are going to update the character's speed. We're going to set the animator to move, so he'll be animating, because basically if he's dead and his speed is 0, we don't want him to keep animating as if he's running. So if he becomes deceased, then this is what we need to just make sure that only happens when he's not deceased. So now we're going to add another function, and this is the onTriggerEnter function. There are many functions that you can add to detect collisions. And I'll just bring up the Unity docs. I'll put a link to it below. And you can read about this here. But basically, onTriggerEnter looks like this. It has one parameter, a collider, and that collider has information about the thing that's collided with it. And from that collider, we can get information such as the name of the tag, i.e. the bullet. And that's what we're going to do here to detect whether a collision has occurred. Now, you can imagine you could do this with anything. You could have your enemy pick up objects off the floor to get more points, so coins or something, and you can detect that collision. but you'd add that on trigger enter to your character, not to this enemy. So let's add on trigger enter function. Now this is a function called by Unity's Unity engine automatically if the collider has that box ticked saying on trigger. Will not get called otherwise. And the one parameter of it is a collider, and it's going to be called other. So this has to be exactly right, else Unity won't call it. You can't get the spelling wrong. So for example, it's a capital O for a start. And if you want to check, you can go to the documentation, which I just showed you, and you can see how it's written there. So what are we going to detect? Well, we're going to say if other.tag equals bullet. So if the thing that's collided with it is the bullet, then we're going to say animator.set bool, and we're going to trigger the death underscore B animation. We're going to set that to true. And again, going back to the animator, if you looked in the animator for any of these simple characters, you can see that the list of parameters there, one of them is a death animation character attribute, and when that is ticked, then that will happen. So that's just loading. But the next thing we need to do is we need to also set death type. So, and we should do that actually before we trigger the death animation. So right, here we go. So if we go to different layers and we go to death, you see there's actually 4 types of death. There's 1, 2, 3, or at least that's, I think that's 4 types, or maybe there's just 2 types. There's death 1 and death 2, right? And then in the parameters, there's a death B, which gets triggered. And there's also this death int, which is triggered to, which is automatically set to 2. So we are going to set it to, just for fun, we're going to set it to 1, just to show you how you can set the integer. Which integer are we setting? We're setting, well, let's copy this. Let's not make mistakes. Let's just go here, double click on it, copy it, and paste it in there so you get that exact name right. And we're going to do the death 1 type animation. And then we're going to trigger the death animation. So you need to set the death type before you trigger it. And then we're going to set his local property is dead to be true, the local variable. And then, importantly, we're going to set the agent's speed to be 0. We don't want him to keep tracking you around after he's died and on the floor. Else, it would be very weird. It would be like some dead person just rolling around on the floor trying to find you. It's not realistic. So that's what we've done here. We've created this on trigger enter function that gets triggered when a bullet with the tag bullet collides with his collider. It makes sure that that is the right thing that we're looking for. We're looking for the bullet, sets the death type, sets the death animation, sets his local variable to true, and then sets the agent speed to 0. And then in the update function, we only trigger the movement animation while he's alive, while he's dead is false. So if we go back to here, there's our enemy script, enemy agent. Do we have any errors? Undefined is not for tag, undefined is not defined. Okay, I think that this should work. So if I run this now, you'll see the enemy agent die when we shoot him with a bullet. Fingers crossed. So if I move back, and I just hold down that trigger button, you should be seeing him die. But it's not quite working yet. Why isn't that working? Ah, there we go. Because for some reason, the bullet hadn't hit him. But you can see now, if I run up to him or walk up to him, that our enemy agent is dead. So obviously there's a few things you might need to tweak there, like maybe making it clearer to the user where the bullet is going. Like, let's go back to the scene and click on our character. Like, perhaps the gun is at a slight wonky angle. So yeah, if I pause that now and I go back into the scene and I move around, you can see that the gun is at a slight wonky angle. The bullets are, that's the latest bullet that was just generated. No, or was it? I don't know. But these are all the bullets that exist in the current game that have been generated. They've moved quite far because the bullets will move quite far. You can see this one has basically fallen out of the world. They get destroyed after a certain amount of time. But maybe the angle of them, perhaps it's going up and then down. So we think we're shooting forward, but because of the way the gun is angled, it's not quite working. So that's something you can try and fix, play around with the angle of that. And then also there's some extra things here. Well, I'm going to show you in the next video how you can add a score, but when you shoot a character and he dies, can you update the score? Also, maybe you could try and put some colliders on your own character and see if they could pick up objects that would also increase your score. And if you really want to challenge yourself, see if you can make your character shoot at you. And I will probably make videos for all of these as well. So I can subscribe and then you'll see.